All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is Wednesday, April 16th. We have just two NBA games on today's slate, the other half of the play-in games to dive into. Like we always do, I'm going to dive into each and every one of these games. So both of them, I'm going to give you my prediction on the side. I'll give you my prediction on the total. We'll talk about any other plays like player props that we like within the game as well. But as always, guys, keep an eye down on the pinned comment of this video. That'll take you to all of my final plays, so what I'm actually rolling with myself. If that does interest you, it's absolutely free down in the pinned comment. All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. I tell you guys I'm a dummy all the time. They don't suck. They've just been sucking. Get them down to -3 for more juice than Jose can take on his prime. Tell me you're new without telling me you're new. So don't go jumping down my throat in the comments, right? If you don't want to fade me, or if you do want to ride me, this still leaves a bad taste in my mouth, right? And remember, more chins, more wins. Yesterday, so our start to the NBA playoffs technically did not go according to plan. A little salty about this, what we ended up rolling with, I guess, because we did have some plays that my finger was right there about to place it, and I said, you know what, no, we got enough going on. Those two things would have been Cole Anthony and a Orlando and Warriors moneyline parlay. I can't take credit for those. We talked about them in yesterday's video, but obviously the record is the record. We can't avoid it. Jaren Jackson Jr. over PRA and over rebounds are the only things that cash, and those combined were only worth a quarter unit. So I think we're owed the womp womp there. Not exactly the best night. The Hawks and Magic finish at, I think it was 215. Trae Young finishes at 34, and we needed 35.5 from him. Jaren Jackson Jr., 18 points, needed 20. And then for his PRA, he finished at 24 as well. So, yeah, again, I'm a little salty about this one, but we can't make excuses. They were okay reads. They just did not reach the finish line in a sense. So hopefully we do a little bit better today. It wasn't our baseball night. We could say that for sure. I guess that is a, glass half full approach to it. If you know, you know, if you watch the baseball video. But anyways, guys, we do have two games. We got Chicago taking on Miami, Sacramento taking on Dallas. Before we jump into these, go ahead and hit that like button and hit that subscribe button. Keep letting me know who you guys are rolling with in the comments down below. We'll get to the ride of the day when we have some bigger slates out there, but I love the fact that you guys are still using the hashtag ride of the day in the comments and helping people out, because there was a lot of winning comments yesterday and not a lot of winning plays on our board. You know what I mean? So keep doing your report, guys. You guys are absolutely awesome. Let's go ahead and dive into this first game, though. We got Chicago taking on Miami. So just a little refresher of the play-in tournament. The games last night do impact this one, because the winner of this game still has to beat the loser of the 7 and 8 play-in games. So Miami and Chicago, whoever wins this one ends up having to, or gets to, play the Hawks, right? The loser, see ya, time for some golf, right? A little vacation. So just keep in mind that's how this works. This team has to win 2 games to advance into the 8th seed, whereas, the team that just won last night already slides into that 7th seed. Chicago taking on Miami. Right now, Chicago's actually favored at home. I don't know if I fully agree with it. I think it's going to be a very close game. So anything we talk about in this one, take bits and pieces that you like. Feel free to fade what you don't, because this should be a very close game overall. I will say I like the Heat strictly because of the better defense. But Chicago was coming into this playing some really good basketball. They fought at the end of the season, right? They fought really, really hard. They won some good games. Did they play the hardest teams? No, but they did play this Miami team, and they beat them by 8. That was in Chicago, which this one is too. They won by 8, and that was a Miami team that had, Bam, had Tyler Hero, they had Chloe Ware. Like, everyone played for this Miami team. Chicago didn't have, I believe, Lonzo Ball. Kobe White did play, but everyone had kind of a good game, which I mentioned how the Heat have a good defense. Vooch went for 20. Kevin Huerter went for 22. Josh Giddey went for 28. Bazelis went for 17. Kobe White went for 18. It's like, Are these Chicago Bulls like the kryptonite of this Miami defense? Because even if you look at it this season, right, they played 3 times. February 4th, 133-124 win for Chicago. That was a 3.5-point dog spot for them. They won. Then they were in Miami in early March, 114-109. They were 5-point dogs. They're winning these games outright. And then, again, we just talked about the one last week or so, 119-111. They were 2-point dogs. So there's a lot of cases to be made for Chicago. I just think the playoffs have a little bit different of an atmosphere to it. Look at what happened last night, right? Take the, I think we can use the Hawks and the Magic game as a decent example. The Hawks and the Magic both, good enough teams to be that 7 and 8th questionable seed, right? Well, the Magic are the better defensive team, and for the beginning of that game, they pretty much won it in the first like 12 minutes, right? Yes, the Hawks ended up, battling back, making somewhat of a game out of it, but even if you say somewhat of a game, did they? They came out of the Magic came out first quarter, absolutely dominated. Okay, Hawks won the second quarter, but only by 1 point. The Magic had won that first quarter. Then they come out of halftime and dominated, the second half of the game, right? It's like the defensive team made stops when they needed to. Even though the Hawks had a couple decent looks during the game, the offense couldn't go for 48 minutes. That's kind of sort of how I see this one going in a sense, especially when we look at it from the numbers perspective, right? This Bulls team, honestly, at the end of the year, kind of drifted off from shooting the three ball, but we know that they're going to shoot a lot of threes, right? This is a Miami team that in terms of the catch and shoot jumper, not all that bad defensively. In terms of the pull-up jumper, not all that bad. I'm not saying they're the best in the world, but not all that bad. Even using our dashboard here, which we can talk about in a little bit how to get access to, Miami above the break here, right? 35.1% defensively overall. And though the last 10 games may not be telling, it looks like, this Chicago team started shooting inside. If we know anything about the Chicago team, they chucked a ton of threes this season. You can even see here, bottom left of your screen, points from three. They were third in the league. If we do even want to give, not take it with a grain of salt, take it as a gospel truth that they're going to take it inside. Okay, well, Miami, 67.2% in terms of field goal percentage. They were top half in the league in terms of preventing points in the paint. So I do think this is a decent spot for Miami's defense to kind of shine. I'll take the underdog in this spot, but again, there's no reason for you to hear what I just said and jump ship, because there is plenty that you can make, the case for about Chicago. How about Miami in a sense? Miami likes to shoot in the paint. Well, Chicago's defense does stink in the paint, but over the last, few games this NBA season, they definitely shored it up. Last 10 games, 61.4% down there. Again, that would be a feather in Chicago's cap. I'm willing to say I'll take the 82-game sample size over the 10-game sample size. That's just me. You could also say, well, Miami likes to run the pick and roll. Chicago, top 10 in terms of score percentage defensively against the pick and roll. Okay, Miami, what about isolation? Chicago pushes guys out of isolation. They had the third fewest rank in terms of isolation frequency against them. So there are ways to look at this Chicago team and say, yeah, I think this is the spot. I just think defense is going to reign supreme here in this one. Couple player props we do like in this one. We'll start with Bam Adebayo. I like his over 18.5 points. He's done this in 4 of the 5 that he's played against Chicago in his last 5 this season. Looked really good against them as well. That last game we talked about, he played 35 minutes. He only had 18 points, but that's still only 1 bucket, 1 foul shot, which he missed 2 foul shots away from cashing the over of 18.5. This is a Bulls team that really does not play all that well down low or right in the paint there. So at the rim or in the paint. Again, I'm using the sample size of the 82 games, not the last 10 games of the year. And they're third worst or something? Actually 30th if we talk about in the paint as a whole, which is where Bam Adebayo makes his bread, right? So give me Bam Adebayo over 18.5 points. Also considering kind of on the same logic, Kel'el Ware over in points. We'd need 9 from him, but he's obviously a guy that's going to shoot via putback and also in the pick and roll. I said the Chicago team can defend the pick and roll fairly well in terms of, stopping guys from doing it and score percentage wise. So what if, Tyler Hero's in the pick and roll and he's not having the easiest time scoring off the pick and roll? That's going to lead to some lobs, some cuts, and that type of thing off the pick and roll for guys like Ware to score. And even Bam Adebayo can set those screens as well. And then one last Heat player. I guess it's all coming up Heat for me, right? One last Heat player I like would be Alec Burks. I like him points and threes, honestly. I think we can get some good value in both of those, and he's been starting, and as long as he gets like 25 minutes, which I could envision him getting, I think we could be good here. Now, in terms of total, we haven't talked about that yet. It bit us in the ass yesterday, it did. But much like I said, the Hawks should be able to drive up the pace. You're not going to find any other team than like the Bulls that likes to drive up the pace. And with this line at 219, it's pretty crazy. I mean, you look at 219 right now, and the Bulls, their home games this season, they hit the over in 80% of those games. Overall, they hit the over in 85%. Miami, over to this number, went on the road, 50-50. When they were at, overall in the whole season, 56%. So weirdly enough, yes, Miami is a slow-paced team. They closed out the year as a bottom 10 team in the last 10 games. they can still definitely run if they need to. And I mentioned, Bam Adebayo and the paint defense and that type of thing. I think Miami will get the easy buckets. Chicago will get the buckets in which they run. And Miami isn't the best transition defense, allowing nearly 55% to their opponents from the field goal percentage in transition. So I think this one could run. I'm going to lean towards the over. Give me Miami as well. And then those player props that we talked about there. All right, guys, before we move on to game number 2, we do have a nice free square over on sleeper picks in said game. Dallas's Anthony Davis over 0.5 points for tonight. He is listed as probable to suit up, and they've now switched their new customer deal, which is awesome. You get up to $100 matched when depositing and signing up today. That was their OG one, the one that everybody loved. Well, they've brought it back. It is now live as of, I want to say, Saturday. So if you guys want a free $100, go over to Sleeper and deposit right now. That link will be down in the description as well as the pinned comment, and you get this Anthony Davis 0.5 point square. It's also Wednesday. Sleeper loves to drop wildcard Wednesdays and do deals on Wednesdays, so you might get some sort of just a app-wide discount and that type of thing as well. If you're like, what the hell is Sleeper, and you haven't watched my videos all year because I love Sleeper and I've talked about them plenty, Sleeper is essentially the best spot for you if you love player props. You pick more or less based on the set projection. So for this Anthony Davis one, you're probably picking 0.5 points more than that, right? You put them into an entry, 2 or more. The more you win, the more you do get paid out. It's really, really cool. Each and every play you throw into that entry changes the payout dynamically. So they do it unique. They don't follow a fixed payout structure like 3 for 3 or 2 for 2 is 3x or anything like that, right? 3 for 3 is 5, 10, whatever. They don't follow it like that. What they do is each player has its own multiplier, and based on how you put it in, it'll change that payout. Like I said, pretty damn cool, guys. Go check it out. That link will be down in the description as well as the pinned comment, or just use code GUYBOSTON when signing up. Now, let's dive into game number 2 here, shall we? All right, Sacramento taking on Dallas. Now, I've put Sacramento on the DMB graveyard like 10 times this season. We did crunch the numbers, and it wasn't even all that bad. I think we lost like under half a unit on them throughout the entire season, going up and down. But it was kind of entertaining and fun to have them as like sort of our arch nemesis that we also couldn't stop rolling with his final plays. I don't think I get to Dallas today. Couple reasons why here. The biggest one, and this is kind of really niche and nitpicky, but I think it's going to be a big deal, is that both of these teams, and again, in the dashboard, I'll just show you. And the dashboard, I'll tell you how to get it in a second. Forgot that I was supposed to show you that earlier. But both these teams clearly prioritize a little bit of the mid-range, right? And one of the teams, Sacramento, not good defensively in the mid-range. One of the teams is good defensive, and we know we have Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan. Hell, I guess you could throw Sabonis in there to some degree, too. Not really, but to some degree to help the point. That love that mid-range shot. I would really say DeRozan, then Zach LaVine, who are the primary scorers here. If Dallas can lock up that mid-range, there's a massive, and it's not normally like that, like a massive, when you're talking mid-range, but a massive issue for the Sacramento team getting points off. So I think that that's kind of point number 1 that I would put in Dallas's pocket. I'd also say that this is a Dallas team that, in terms of isolation, now, yes, it's a little bit different without Kyrie and whatnot, but Anthony Davis will be an isolation player as well. He's kind of one of the few fours and big men that do kind of play like that. He'll get the ball sort of in the mid-range, maybe the short corner, and face up. This is a Sacramento team that is not all that great defensively against that. Now, in the pick and roll, a spot in which I think Dallas will try to target here, especially having, pass dominant guards out there and guards that don't necessarily score off the pick and roll. When you think about it, you have starting at the 1 today, I think Clay's getting the point guard start, if I'm not mistaken. Then you have Najee Marshall, PJ Washington. These are big guys. They're not going to be coming off the pick and roll looking to score and break to the hoop. Like, these are guys that you could argue that they play the 3 and 4 position, right? Not Klay Thompson. So I think that they come off the screen, and especially with Klay, you're going to want to blitz that screen because he's a shooter, right? Anthony Davis, Derek Lively, these guys that are setting the screens should have some success. And you have Sacramento, who is the 3rd worst on the season in terms of effective field goal percentage against in the pick and roll, and the 3rd worst in score percentage in the pick and roll. So I do think Dallas's lineup really affects this big time, right? Like, if you had Kyrie in there, Kyrie's going to come off the pick and roll and go downhill and try and look to score, right? That shouldn't be the case today, especially with the lineup that they're trotting out there. So I think that actually is going to pay dividends for this Dallas team. I would also throw Dallas into the equation that when Anthony Davis is playing, Seems like they could be a little bit more dynamic defensively. You look at their team and it's like, oh, their points in the paint allowed, 29th, really struggling and all that. But realistically, last 10 games, they're 65.3% field goal percentage to their opponents down low. That's not all that terrible. In the paint, 45%. That's not all that terrible. Anthony Davis and Derek Lively and obviously all of these guys coming back, and being healthy, their bigs should erase that. And what does Sacramento like to do in terms of winning or losing games? Dominate that paint area. They usually fold and throw in the perimeter play because they're not very good defensively from out there. They like to battle in the paint. Well, I think that they've met their match with a healthy Dallas team. I mean, you have PJ Washington, Anthony Davis, and Derek Lively as your 3, 4, and 5. Now, if this game gets going and running, then yes, Sacramento may have an advantage because I do think Dallas is kind of trotting out more of a half-court offense in terms of starting the lineup. But look at the total of this game, 215.5. Even the books think that this is going to be a low-scoring game. So, to me, that just absolutely favors what we're seeing, on the Dallas side of things. I think that they're playing this one pretty smart, right? Hopefully that makes sense to you guys. It's kind of how I'm seeing it, but based on last night, you remember all those red X's? The crystal ball ain't always that clear. So I'm going to lean towards Dallas here, but I do think, if Sacramento runs, if Sacramento can battle down low and maybe Anthony Davis isn't 100% and that type of thing, I do think there are lanes to get to Sacramento. But Sacramento, in terms of at home this year, they've only covered in 36.8% of their games. But on the flip side, I said if this game gets running and gets going, I actually think it favors Sacramento. And they've had a lot of overs won at home this year. Now, if your argument to that would be, well, Dallas has played with a faster pace, they have, not with this starting lineup. This is a little bit new of an approach, you know what I mean? So I think they're going to emphasize that half-court game, and obviously looking at that 215.5, I think that that's going to suit them pretty damn well. Getting access to the dashboard is simple. It's over on GuyBostonSports.com. You head to the members area here. NBA dashboard is what you click on if you already are logged in, and you'll see that the dashboard is right here. You can open it up, and you have each and every game broken out in a visual format. This pulls from a bunch of different websites to save you and me time in the morning. Some of it is pulled in automatically. Some of it is manual, but we have a ton of great data in here. Just, again, help you sort of make your research process more optimal, more efficient, and save you the time of going to like 8 different websites. So check it out. If you guys are not logged in, it'll ask you, say, hey, you need a membership for this page. You can click the membership levels to view them, and you'll see we have 3 options. You got the all sports dashboard, meaning you get MLB and NBA. You also just can do NBA for the rest of the season if you want at $2.99 per month. Very, very cheap. And if you are interested in this for next year as well, and you want to get in at a price, yes, you will have to have this through the subscription through the off season. But whatever price you get in at, you keep. So just keep that in mind, guys, when signing up. I would recommend the all sports dashboard because our MLB dashboard is killer as well. But yeah, check it out, GuyBostonSports.com. So we already mentioned a couple names, but we haven't talked player props yet or totals. I want to start with player props. I like Klay Thompson's over 2.5 assists here. I do believe that he's going to have, a lot of the ball in this game, especially if he gets the minutes. And we're talking about a guy that has a lot of playoff experience and that type of thing, right? So I don't mind his assists. By the way, you're getting plus 130 for that. If this was 2.5 for like minus 110, I probably wouldn't even like it all that much, okay? But I also like the idea of his points plus assists. Right now, 13.5 for that, for nearly even money, seems like it could be a good look overall, just given the fact that this is a Sacramento team that still does struggle against the spot up and against the 3 ball, right? Well, Klay Thompson's obviously a very good shooter, and if I like him to get some assists, might as well throw some points in there because his points line is fairly low. Why not, kind of include both, right? So yes, he's kind of struggled as of late, has only been playing a few minutes, but this is the playoff time. I think this is where Klay Thompson will shine for this team. So I'm going to look at Klay Thompson here over points plus assists. Again, that number is 13.5. That just seems a little too low for me overall. If it goes up, which I kind of assume it will throughout the day, I'd play this probably up to maybe 15.5. Still there, I do feel a little bit comfortable with that number, but I expect that to jump, especially with the kind of the throw him in at point guard. I think that that's going to make these books adjust. So yeah, we're recording this pretty early, so if that does move, just know I guess my ceiling line would be 15.5, but don't mind that either. And then I guess I kind of want to look at someone like Anthony Davis here on the side of things, because I do think that he should be able to battle down low. So maybe his points plus rebounds line, that one's just kind of like a raw play right now. We don't have the numbers in front of us to back it, but that's another player prop that I'd be considering. Guys, that is going to wrap it up for today's show. Actually, we talked about the total, right? I do think that this one slightly goes over just because I'm giving, kind of like I do with Chicago, giving Sacramento the credit that I think that their game plan, if they want their best chance in this one, even though it's a slow-paced team, they do have some guys like Levine that can run in transition, unlike really anyone else that's kind of on this Dallas team, I would say. So I'll lean over, but clearly we left it at the end. It's not exactly my biggest spot or biggest love in this game, but that is going to wrap it up for today's show. Hopefully you guys did enjoy. Really do appreciate you sticking with me on this fine Wednesday. Playoff basketball, baby. Those games last night were very good, even though the Hawks were struggling. That was still a pretty entertaining game up until, I don't know, 6 minutes to go in the game overall. But yeah, really, really excited for some playoff basketball. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Catch you guys in the next one, right? Peace out.